We live in a world that was based on illusions, secrets, and lies. And as we continue to open our eyes and see through the veil that lives beyond us, we see that many features of our life are simply based on great deceptive stories and scripts that we now have to make that decision to be able to recreate the stories of our own lives and create our own script to create our own lives that shows our most intrinsic internal value. Now we know that we have been living in the Pisces Age, which, according to its nature, it is said to be based on illusions. And as we continue to awaken, we see that we have been living in a world that was casted on the dream spell of the Maya. And as we know in astrology, the Piscean sign represents the dream world. So we now have to take that step and say, what dream is it that we now have to step forward and take to create in the new Aquarian world, as we have been living in this deception, illusionary world for far, far too long. And we now have to take the bull by the horn and recreate our own scripts of our lives. Let's look at this great word, illusion. It is a false, deceptive impression based on false beliefs. So you see, if we look at just its definition, we see that we have been told, everything from our birth to be conditioned a certain way, that in reality, it's just simply a mere deceptive expression of a belief. Now, are we going to continue to accept this and just live in this deceptive nature of conditioning? You see, as we shift through the ages, we all have to play a vital part in co-creating a new story here. As we know, Aquarian age is all about truth and knowing. And as we continue to see the revelations, of everything surrounding us that's just based on illusions and deceptions, we have to tell ourselves, wow, we have been living like this for far too long. It's now time to turn the pages of this great story and deceptive script. Now let's look at a few of the features, that we have been patterned off. Great big religious, organizations. And we could look at difference, we're not going to get too involved, but, everything was based on written stories. And so we could look at, certain stories that was written maybe in the Bible of Christianity and, other religions too. But we'll just focus on this one for now to say like, wow, this was simply a story. And usually when stuff is written, it's usually to really play out that great script of characters in our present day time. Now, we see that, through this great story of Jesus Christ, he was basically sacrificed. And so, after that, during the Piscean era, we often had to live in a world of great pain and suffering, and just on a diminished level of, that represents just a structure where we have to look up at, certain leaders, and then the rest of us who are down, we just have to remain at a certain level, and continuously, from this great conditioning, just get up, you learn, you go to school, you work, you retire, and then what's left, So we now have to see, is this really the kind of life we want to create in this new transitionary era? Let's look at our political structure. We have to look up at these politicians as they are the representations of leaders in our present day structures. And as we begin to look at the patterns, of how stuff have been shaped in this great political structure, we now have to ask ourselves, is it really for Bennett? Do they really serve our highest good? To allow us to live in a great equilibrium that benefits us all? Or is it merely just for the benefit of a few? Let's look at this great illusion of magical world. Now the magical tool is simply, a way of, just creating a sort of illusionary perception in our consciousness. Now, we all have the great tool to create our own magic within our lives simply by our own intentions. No longer are we to look at, this great depiction of magic and being able to just do anything and everything that serves just a few, to be able to use it as a control mechanism to keep some in a diminished state or value. You see, all of these deceptive features now have to live the script of our lives. We now have to tell ourselves, wow, this is a great opportunity as we're transitioning to bring back our truest essence here as co-creators here on earth. We now have to create our own life script by becoming that character that we envision for ourselves. No longer are we just gonna live a life where we are being told, how to live and who we are and what we become. You see, if we look back, we have all this conditioning about, like, let's say, we go to school and we get teachings of words and, okay, stay this way, you have this value, you have this morals, respect, some of it is good for us as anything that creates harmony amongst us and love. But anything, even all of these low vibrational features, where we create this harmony amongst ourselves, and as some of these tools are used to create great friction in our lives, we now have to tell ourselves, like, wow, we now have to take the bull by the horn and recreate the story by living that character that we've envisioned ourselves every day. We have to become that person. No longer are we just to look to what they've told us, and live in a world of just dependency on a few that's just, living to have benefit for only themselves, And we see that we live in a world where it's structured just based on, if you want to look at it, this socio-economic world, on just being a consumer and, generating funds and finances and, that's all our exchange. But if we diminish everything, it's all about the energy that we give. And we now have to recreate our stories of our lives by blossoming into the best energy frequency that can create our highest order of the essence of who we were born to be in this lifetime. And so it's up to us, each and every one of us, to make that decision. If we no longer satisfied with this current way of living and this current era, we cannot continue to look at a deceptive world, or feature or leadership that was just based on great illusions, secrets, and lies. Let's just all become our own script holders of our lives to recreate our stories here on earth. And as we transition to bring forth a world that's based on truth and love and great harmony, and one where we could all coexist and live in peace and harmony. I give you so much love. Continue to reflect and ponder on becoming the co-creator of your lives and turning that script and going forth and creating your own story of recreating the most magnificent, beautiful life during this time. Peace and love.